So we're now going to talk about one of the movements that we use when playing the piano. I'm sure if I was to ask most people what part of the body you play the piano with, 90% of the people would say their fingers. Well, of course, the fingers are the parts of the body that are touching the piano. But where we want to get to is to involve more parts of the body in the playing. Just in the same way, if you're doing a sport, it's not golf, for example. It's not just about swinging your arms. You have to turn your torso, you have to move your hips and your thighs. So the whole body gets involved, and that's true of the piano as well. So some of these technique exercises are to try and get you used to involving other parts of your body. So first of all, let's talk about the hand position on the piano. Now, I guess we all know that we've got to have a bit of a curve, but the best way to find your natural hand position for the piano is to stand up and just let the hands hang loose. Now, if I turn around this way and look at my right hand, you can see that it's coming straight down the forearm. There you are, straight down the forearm, down to this first big knuckle here, and then it comes in a bit, and then it comes in a bit more on the other. So you can see there's a natural curve there. And also, if you look at the hand, there's a little gap between all the fingers. Now, I haven't forced it into this position. This is the way my hand wants to go when I'm not thinking about it. So if we were now to put this on the piano like this, it's the same position. It's like my hand is hanging down. We're straight across there to this first main joint here, and then it curves down a bit more. We've got this nice curve of the fingers. Okay, so this is our playing position, and this is what we want to try and keep this position, this natural position, whatever we're playing. Now, of course, there are times when we have to extend our hand, stretch, but that is not our natural position for our hand. So we want to feel comfortable in returning to this position as often as we can. Okay, so going back to the initial question about playing with the fingers, we actually want to involve more of our arm, our wrist, both the forearm and the upper arm as well, and even the shoulders, because your arm actually attaches to your collarbone. So that's where all arm movements originate from. So what we're going to do is get used to the idea of using this arm and retaining the hand in this position. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my hand in a position that's kind of level with my shoulder. So I'm not having to move in or out, it's level with it. So for me, this is the G position. So remember, we're going to retain this position. So what we're going to do is lift the whole forearm up. We're trying to keep this in one solid position. So don't lift and break your wrists or like that. Keep it all in the same position and get used to it just lifting from the elbow, pivoting there. You may want to use your other hand to hold it because we don't want the elbow to move. We're just hinging on that elbow, and we want to get up to 90 degrees. And then we're just going to let it drop onto the piano. You won't hurt the piano, and it probably won't be as noisy as you think, but we want it just to fall and keep that hand and wrist position as it is. Okay, up, fall. So you might want to give that a go. Look out for things that you might be naturally doing. One, you might be using your biceps or your triceps to push the arm down. We don't want that. If you get it up vertical enough, once it starts to fall, gravity will take over. You want that to do that. You want to make sure that as you're coming down, you're not like putting the brakes on to stop it. You know, you don't want it to go too loud. Just let it drop right down. Keep an eye on your fingers. What we want to improve here as well is our accuracy. If we're starting in the G position with one finger on every note, when we come down, we want it to drop at exactly the same position. Now you may not get this right the first couple of times, but as you keep doing it, you'll realise your brain is working out what it needs to do to make those fingers land on the same notes. And in no time at all, you will be accurate. Now also look out for when your fingers land, your hand comes down, that your finger still retained this position. You know, it may well be that you without thinking about it, have a finger sticking out, or one of your other fingers starts moving over to the area where another finger is. You know, this can happen as well, but you'll see it. If you just let it fall down, you'll see if that's happening. If you do see it happening, acknowledge it and give your brain a chance to work out what it's got to do to correct that. And then you keep doing this, focused on correcting that problem, and you will be amazed how quickly that stops happening. Now obviously I'm doing this with my right arm, it needs to be exactly the same with the left hand as well. So this is your first exercise that we're going to just call the arm drop. Make sure it's all relaxed, make sure there's no braking, there's no pushing, it's just gravity. And when you hit the notes, make sure that we've retained this hand position. We don't want to end up with fingers sticking up in the air, or your wrist breaking and going down here, or the other way coming down like that. We've got to have this solid unit here of the forearm and the wrist and the fingers. So look out for things going wrong and identify them and correct them as you go. Now the next variation on the arm drop is where we're going to target one of the four fingers, fingers 2, 3, 4, 5, and try and make that note sound, but not the others. Having said that, it's still got to fall down with gravity, and the other fingers have to land on the notes. We don't want to end up with this kind of situation. I'd rather that you came down and all the notes played than forcing this, because this is not a natural position. We want to get to that. So I'm going to target my third finger now, and my fourth. Now obviously I've got lots of experience in this, and so that was fairly accurate. When you try this, it won't work the first few times, but just keep going, and very soon your brain will work out what it needs to do to make that particular finger sound the note. So once you think you've pretty much mastered one finger, go on to the next. Remember, we're only doing fingers 2, 3, 4, 5, not the thumb. Okay, and don't forget to do this with your left hand as well. Okay, so this is your arm drop routine, and then the second version where you're targeting, trying to make one particular finger play when the others don't. So this will take some practice, and it's something that you should try and incorporate in your practice at the beginning of each practice session. Okay, good luck.